All right, so last week we were starting to see the weakness on the euro, saying most likely when it breaks out of the range, it's going to be to the downside. So we did that. And again, that was based on weakness here, weakness here. We went over it multiple times, right? Okay. We were saying it's ranging, but if it's going to break out, it's more likely to the downside. So let's take a look at what happened down here at this point. And at first glance, it's still bearish, and we're actually lucky that price is this high because I see weakness here yesterday. And this is a real sell-off that did not show accumulation in any way. There was a bit of high volume on this little candle, but the fact that it's sat below there and did not reject tells you a lot. There's some demand in this area. If when it comes back to here, it may bounce again, may have a little trouble getting through. But if there's any buying in the charts, it's in this area to some extent. You see the sign of strength here, double bottom pattern rejection, but the weakness, slightly more volume, a little more extreme looking. And we'll see if they're continuing to sell and sell higher. We don't really have to worry about that demand issue. The higher, the better as far as the short setting up. So it's a good start. Let's take a look on the 5-minute at all of that. And I can't imagine that this would go up without hitting weakness. Unless something wacky is going on. We should see selling into the up move, signs of weakness into higher prices. Let's see. So here's the big sell-off Friday. High volume leading to lower prices. It's just simply a big sell-off. We don't see lower prices where the high volume is focused. So it's not any sort of trap move or accumulation. Here's where some demand came in and stopped it. A lot of volume for a little candle into lower ground, right? When you see that, you know there's demand coming in. So that slowed it down, and it was the end of the day. But this stuff matters to me that sat in lower prices. Typically, accumulation and real strength, you're going to get a bigger reaction than being able to sit down here off hours. That's Friday into Monday. Nothing big there. Okay. So, and no real weakness here. So yesterday was kind of just flopping around once you get in there. But to see more concentrated activity here is selling and some buying here. But it's bearish. So let's get to the point, which is what levels would we look to sell? Let's mark previous support to resistance. We're kind of over that. Let's take a look at what we're doing. This is kind of the area of support resistance that stands out, which we are at now. So we'll see how it reacts. Obviously, it's aggressive, strong buying, but also hitting selling, particularly at this area. When you get small candles, regular sized candles on large volume, you know there's buying and selling, both active in large amounts. Otherwise, if only one was active, they'd be a big candle. Like this is mostly buying. But this is not that big. It's like the same size as these, almost. So this selling as well to account for all the activity without the progress up, right? So we'll see how this behaves. It could be just a quick trap up move and continue the downtrend. In the bigger picture, what are we looking at? Yeah, it's still rangy. We're still in this. So $0 is discouraging on the weekly chart, but those moves are big enough. You just got to be willing to switch direction when the chart says so. There's no long-term trend. But that area stands out. I don't really want to draw this fib, but I'll do it and then get rid of it because it's just got a lot of sideways. But yeah, it's kind of to apply my catch the trending move kind of logic. It's more like there where it started to trend, which does give us this. So either way, this is a reasonable area to look for the short. If it goes higher, then we'll make sure there's still weakness coming in and consider any higher levels. But it happens to be in the spot where I would first consider the short anyway here. So we'll see how that behaves. The what trending logic you called it? What trending logic? I don't know. What did I say? The That there was no long-term trend? But you have to be willing to, change direction. And there's no long-term trend. That's all I was really saying about the trend. Okay, so pounds. Similar here. Let's see. Is everybody correlating? We dropped on Friday. I need to get caught up. This guy went up. Oh, I guess we saw that coming. Huh? Never did that dip. Oh, my screen is paused. Yep. I'm just looking at the correlation here. So everything dropped on Friday and into Monday, as far as the pairs I mainly watch, except for the Australian dollar pairs, which were in a strong bearish environment, but we're starting to say here it was changing, right? We're talking about it coming up. Look at the break test kind of happened there. Pretty clean. Oh, look at that. Oh, come on. That's pretty good. That's pretty damn good. Come on. It's fun to do these things when it happens. So, but we never got the dip here, which really would have made it a proper setup. But once you break here and you're staying above it, it's bullish. So we would look for signs of strength anyway at this point. But it's funny how the direction changed where the Australian dollar was weak until the middle of last week. It started to see some buying. It was really weak before then. And then now as others dropped Friday, yesterday, the Australian dollar pairs went up, which means profit taking, buying, it's starting to switch. So it's in its own world, which happens a lot. And when the Australian dollar drives these two pairs, they tend to correlate. One may be cleaner. That's fine. It's in its own world. It could have its own direction. And these guys might tend to correlate more with the dollar or the yen. All right, so let's take it from here. First, we'll do the pound. I just wanted to get a sense of everything. We'll go in order, though. So as most of them do, this had the drop on Friday. This should be bearish, even unless we see really any large signs of strength, which we don't. So we're applying the same thing. Again, the fib is a little fuzzy. I would actually go with whatever's there. So there's this support to resistance. There's yesterday's high. And you could even get, at least if not a setup, some information in here. So we'll see if we can start this off with an up move today. And weakness. Let's take a look at the fib so far. And again, there's not much to say about volume here because it's an obvious downtrend that has not seen any sort of high volume on the 1 hour chart into low prices. This gives it away here that we're still bearish. This, right? These dips are not seeing volume, high volume and rejection. They're the opposite. They decrease, they close at their low, and it's a downtrend, so that's all you have to know, right? You're looking for weakness to get in. So we have this area, which could be a fake breakout, and then just this sort of support resistance area. Let's see how it's behaving here. Okay, so there's some correlation with this key level weakness coming in. This is behaving like a trap move here. A no demand here would be valid. On these trades, the higher the better. And this is sort of the first area. But it would be valid. Because again, that's a fib. We're in a bearish environment. We have weakness coming in very clearly off of this, and then 14 EMA tests. It's pretty clean. Now, if buyers show up, it may double top or test the next level, right? If they don't show up, we see low volume, no demand, and it breaks to the downside, then it's a short entry. Stop I would put just above here. So we'll look for that. It's early, but it's clean. There's no high impact news for the pound to worry about. Hopefully the sellers are not in a rush. It'll take its time and then really convince me because we are just sort of getting warmed up. So I wouldn't mind a double top fake break with more weakness and then a no demand entry. But if it's proper, if it's a setup, I'll get in. So that's the pound. Again, besides the Australian dollar pairs, same story here. We are bearish. We're looking for up moves and weakness. This is really just variations on where they are at this point exactly, and but mark up your levels to see the opportunities. These are just obvious resistance that happens to be there. Again, the fib is fuzzy as far as the big fib. I don't like to include ranges, or if it's questionable, nah. But we can draw this. That's a swing high-low, clearly. Oh, well, there you go. That's kind of what is likely. It's kind of a fib retracement within this area, but let's see how that behaved. That's not a great time to take a trade, but didn't exactly show weakness. But it was a fib area. All right, so bearish, 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 up moves and weakness. If this is still valid here, so if we do revisit that short, or here would be fine. So again, let's just finish it off with the EJ. A bit of strength showing up. So if some look better than others, take the better one, right? The euro dollar or the pound dollar maybe saw less strength. See the 5-minute. Stands out a bit. So that wouldn't be the one. If things change direction and go bullish for some wacky reason in the near future, consider the EJ, because that's seen a little more demand. But as far as selling, it's not the number one choice because of that. And you saw the 5-minute did back that up as opposed to the, let's say, the euro dollar. Where we don't see the traditional accumulation activity. Here's a low price and a dip in volume. Here's nothing special. That has a double bottom on high volume. So that shows a little more traditional accumulation type of activity. Just to point that out. So it doesn't make the ideal long, the ideal short. But if things change direction, you may have something there. But that's sort of a trademark pattern. We know what that's about. So definitely not my first choice on the short, even though they seem bearish. But there's a difference with that. And this still had weakness here, and they should most likely end up correlating down. But I'll just take the one that's cleaner. And to finish off with the AUAJ, which is a different story altogether. 1 second. So here the first thing that stands out is, it's trending upward. So we got to consider that. We were not surprised. We were talking about stop selling the AU, right? So if we are seeing higher highs, higher lows, we're looking for signs of strength. Let's mark up our areas and let's see the health of this trend. Here's the highest point where, again, you expect some weakness to come in, but it's relatively very low. It's Monday, so if we're coming up here and testing this again, we'll see what's up with these sellers. If they don't show up, it's very likely doing another leg up. But ideally, we want signs of strength. Let's see how it looks. Little to no weakness. We see buying throughout the down move, buying throughout the down move consistently. See low here, lower price, they buy. So that is the accumulation stuff. This is just dead time here. So if we find ourselves so lucky to have price down here again, this is an obvious long to look for. Maybe we can range and get lucky and it drops down and we look for that, maybe get the leg up off of that. If, on the other hand, it just goes right to here, it's not typically a trade I look to take, but we'll see how it behaves. AJ, a little sloppy. Wait, let me just back out and see where we are in this thing. One, two, three, four, five, yeah. It's most likely hitting another wave up unless you see like overwhelming weakness here. It's most likely going to try to move up. If there's no weakness, it should be. Yeah, okay, this is pretty. I should at least make it to there. Could do the 618. So yeah, okay. That's where we are. AJ, kind of a mess there. Yeah, definitely my last choice for a trade here out of all of these. It's basically the middle of the range. And what happens at the middle of the range? It goes to sleep. If you haven't heard me say that, then I don't know. You're not paying attention. So we're looking to sell here, buy here, and avoid the middle, because this is exactly what happens. But these are actually good, decent, high probability trades. When you're in a ranging environment and it's really a range, you don't see particularly strength or weakness standing out, and you see this sort of symptom, the equilibrium, stuck in the middle chop. So the short and long here is perfectly good trade if it sets up. You just need weakness and an entry, strength and entry. Of course, the fake break pattern is always ideal, but it doesn't have to be. It could be anywhere in the zone, right? Okay, so that's where we are. And again, EJ saw a little too much buying here to make this a choice for me to sell. I'll pick one of the other ones, but it's likely to correlate. Okay, pound is probably confirming the trade right now. Nobody said anything, thanks. There's the no demand, and it's confirming. Give me one sec here. I'm considering this trade. Oh, look at it. It's going to run off without me while I'm opening my platform. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Just bounce for a second for no reason. 30 pip stop on a small position. Yeah, it looks like I'm going for that. While I still have a chance. It is valid. I'll let you know when I click the button here. I'm looking to get in the GU short. The stop at about 72. Yeah, 72. So that's 30 pips, a little bigger than usual. But I'm not going to go full risk here. I'm going to be able to take another trade if it sets up. But there's weakness into the fib, no demand. Okay, I'm in the trade. There's weakness into it. I'm in the trade. GU short, I'm in the trade in 1 second. All right, there we go. So I'm in the trade GU short. I did not put a full risk position. I can still take another trade somewhere. Stop at 72. Okay, got that. So I'm in the trade GU short, stop at 72. Limited size position. Could still take something else if it sets up, which could be an EU short off the 14 test, which is kind of doubling up on it, but if that's what it is, it's what it is. Let's see how much I'm willing to risk. So we'll take the rest as it comes. But again, to show the setup, the fib retracement, and the fact that now it's a little lower than I typically, ideally would say. Like I kind of like these fake breakouts or even a test here. But if the 5-minute is clean, that goes a long way in deciding if I'm taking the trade. And it's just textbook, as most of you know, right? The highest volume is off the highest price. It's 618. There's your no demand test at 14 EMA. Look at the reaction to it. Look at these candles with no volume here in this area being able to make progress like this and close down. There's no buyers right now. That's why this is so low. It's almost like the sellers just knocked it over by accident almost. Look at the lack of selling. This little activity caused this. Think how little, think how little buying there is. Little effort, large result. Very little buying. That's almost hard to believe. You have such a big candle on such low volume. See if there's a gap in price, a price feed. No, looks decent, looks good. See, it's just falling on no volume. So no reason to sit around and test. Let's go. So that's like textbook on the 5 minutes. So that's why I'm getting in this slightly more lower aggressive rather than up here. Because again, on the other hand, sometimes you'll see some weakness here, but it'll still do these tests. And in this case would be a loss, but 5 minute goes a long way. So that's looking good. Targets, as I say, when we're in a trending environment, the main target for the day is the low of the trend. Now this price may be different based on when the broker closed and what may have happened here. So it's give or take. It's like literally on the close Friday, it made a new low. So who knows if your broker closed a little later, maybe who knows if it was down there. So, but anyway, the low of the trend is usually the main target for the day. If we can get down there, I'll be happy. And of course, there's the option, seeing how it behaves at that point. If we can expect another leg down, try to hang in there, trail it, partial position. So that's the main target, is the low. Depending on how much demand shows up, is how I manage the trade and if I expect lower prices or not. But typically I'll take some profit either way at a support like that, the low of the trend. You just lose probability that your trade's going to keep going. You might as well bank some. But it really depends how it looks as far as how much and all that. Now, other areas just to watch. They may not be targets, but they are areas of information. Tell you how the trade is going. Let's see whatever we can get in there. That's about it, really. I wouldn't draw a fib because there's just too much range on that. And it's not really giving a crap about a fib there, so. It's really just these little supports or little checkpoint test areas where basically the sellers typically pause their activity to see how much buying comes in. So if you see signs of strength, particularly at these areas, it's sort of a warning. But really, unless there's any trouble, the target should be basically 1-3 whole number. So the charts are pretty clear on this bearish environment. Took the best setup, the one that confirmed, and it's nice and clean. So if a down move occurs, as the charts suggest, I'm in there. So as far as anything else setting up, again, it's like doubling up on the position, really. Like the euro dollar, if that gives it no demand and the entry off 14 EMA, they're likely just correlating. At that point, the pound will probably be down here. But considering I didn't go huge risk, I can put maybe an additional position short on the euro dollar on a confirmation. The euro did see, if you remember, like the EJ, a little more strength than maybe the pound yen. So it kind of makes sense with the pound being the better trade than the euro. No news to worry about. But according to the chart, it's not me. I'm not trying to do positive thinking or something. There's no buying. There's very little buying. It's extreme. I don't know what word to use. Extreme lack of demand of the pound right now. Nobody wants it. These sellers could just let it fall. No rush, as long as we're moving. Of course, anything could happen. Demand could suddenly show up. But again, according to what the chart is saying, I wouldn't be surprised if it just speeds up and just falls off a cliff. We'll take it as it comes. Let's put that here, and I guess watch the euro dollar. No demand would be valid on that. Yeah, it's definitely a good match here. So says the chart. Pound is generally weak. Seeing this quick sell-off with no buying showing up. Look at the GA. And we know that the dollar is a bit strong, so we have a good combination. All right, good stuff. If it makes it another 17 pips down from here, consider it a good trade. Consider getting out. But who knows, maybe leave some on if that trend is going to continue. Do another leg. You're a dollar. Okay, so we're here. So, I mean, again, these things are kind of correlating, but the pound is just much weaker than the euro. So it was the better trade. We kind of knew that. The euro dollar at this point is kind of, I don't know. You want to jump in that too? think I'll just be good with my pound at this point. The tag along euro dollar. Wait for me. But I'll tell you if it confirms. It didn't stop the test because it's just melting. Well, the pound is melting and it's getting tagged along. It's dollar strength. But if this closes at or near the low without extreme volume, the volume's going to be high though. So yeah, whatever. We got the pound. I'm not taking the euro dollar too. I'm good. All right. I am going to actually close another third of the trade here. It's like 10 pips from the low. There is also a zone, right? Trying to make excuses. No. All right. Was it 9 pips from the main target? All right, I took it. So I still have a third on. This I can maybe just leave with a 100 pip target or something. 200 pips. Maybe the trend will continue as far as this last third. Let's just look at that last potential target if it breaks there. Anything back there? All right. Yeah, the bottom of the range. It's like, I don't know, 200 pips away. That is reasonable. Loose trail. Yeah. Good chance it's going another 100, 150 pips. So that's that. Technically, this is not an entry. It kind of got caught in at a weird time to do this aggressive drop because this is, unlike the pound. Well, yeah, the pound did it too, but it was so successful, it didn't even matter. Um, it was really at a test area where we had to see what was going to happen, and then suddenly the sell-off hit. So this didn't really give us a chance to see what was going to happen. The pound didn't either, but we're already in it. But basically, if that sudden sell-off didn't happen, you'll typically get a pause and a no demand, or at least low volume activity here if it's not technically no demand. Another option would be basically just closing like this without the high volume and without any sort of rejection as an entry to push through this test area. A proper push through there. But you had the sell-off and probably a little bit of buying. Yeah, look at that. See, that's off the low price, so that's not good really. But that'll probably have it do this pattern, break test continuation. So if you are still looking to get in the euro dollar short, there is a bit of demand there for sure. When you kind of force it, you never know what you're going to run into. Those lower prices just may have the buying. But if you get this pattern, break test continuation, and you get basically a no demand or low volume test there, then look for the entry as this begins. I'll hang around, but that's basically what I would do at this point if I was looking to get in. Because we didn't get time for a test the way it blew through, and it didn't really push through properly. This could potentially be strength. Imagine you see this and it pops back up, right? It's a sign of strength. So that's kind of the issue. But yeah, I kept kind of visualizing that we would see a candle like this because there's such lack of demand. It made me think there was something wrong with the broker. That's how little demand was showing up. So I'm like, okay, this thing is subject to free fall. So I guess you got to believe the charts, right? Whatever it says. It could do another one. Could do a bigger one, who knows? Let's see how the low reacted. Yeah, okay, there's a bit of demand. I mean, that's healthy. That's normal. If you just drop this far down. But for example, we go here now into new low ground. If the volume stays low, could do another free fall. There's new low ground. We'll watch the price action, see if buyers come in. See it staying there now. Initially, it did pop up, but it seems to be staying there. Where you see the increase in activity is demand coming in, but the selling might just run it over. Yep, pretty much. Eurodollar's like the sad imitator. Not quite. Eurodollar, not quite. All right, any other opportunities? AJ I would avoid. It's stuck in the middle of the range. Buy low, sell high. We're nowhere near that unless something changes and gives us some clean information. Nothing to do there. AU, again, I'm glad it's coming down because the long entry I would consider off this area if it sets up properly. Perfect situation, we come down here, we do a fake break of this, it ends up testing that, we get our sign of strength and back up and maybe continue the trend. But that's going to take some time to come around. There's our pound melting down. Probably all of the pounds are melting down. You know, they're hitting some demand. It's not a, well, maybe not. It's hitting some demand, but the selling is just running them over. Where is the final target? Well, I could tell you as far as the decision-making process is, if really the main target here to end off the trade is the 1.3 is basically here or a couple of pips below the support. Typically, I'll leave maybe a small portion on, but it depends on how much demand may or may not come in. If you want to just close it around here, then that's the trade. That's the main target. But in a situation like this, it might really be dropping like crazy, and I would like to leave some on and give it a chance to maybe lock in some pips or whatever and see if I can't catch maybe another leg down, which would be, well, there, okay, there's just the support coming up there, but beyond that we have, what did we have? Oh, this. Oh, yeah, 150 pips or so. Who knows? There's nothing really in there. I would just go by how much demand is coming in and react accordingly. But give it a chance. This is real. This is real. This is like we saw it coming, and it's not going to bounce right back up as the market sometimes does and just hit some strength. It seems really real. I wouldn't be surprised if it drops another 50 pips today. But who knows? That's basically the main target, though, so you can take it from there. Whatever you're comfortable with. So finish off, well, I don't know. It's early. I can hang around. Talk about politics? No. What else? There's really nothing else that I would do today. I'm just going to take the money and run. It's been a good, say, a bunch of sessions now where the market's very predictable and does what we think it's going to do. It's September. Yeah. I'm happy. So there's some reasonable amount of buying too. So this isn't so much that it's just no buying anymore. It's just that the selling is very aggressive. So who knows? Maybe it's over for the day. Maybe, maybe not. Let me see what I want to do. Maybe I'll lock in. Let's see. Typically, I like to lock it in over an area that makes sense, like a previous support to resistance, but that's not there. Fib retracement and 618. No, I'm going to leave my stop at break even and try to hang on. Just the way it's been behaving, and give it a chance. Yeah, I'm kind of good with that. If it ends up going all the way back up, hitting my break even, I won't regret that because there's potentially a good payoff here with no risk. So I will let it be. All right, well, nothing to do right now. No demands are valid on the euro dollar short. I'm not going to be most likely taking anything else today. But I'll just be in and out for a little longer in case anything shows up. You can look at it. Can I recap my reason for the pound short? Yes, sir. So to kind of sum everything up, all the reasons, everything going on, it's not that complicated in the end. The big picture, I'm not worried about the trend. A lot of these don't have a trend. But 1 hour point of view, it's a downtrend, and the lower prices didn't show. I have to give the background first as far as the whole explanation. It's obviously a downtrend, lower lows, lower highs, nothing fancy to determine that. And as long as these lower prices are not showing high volume, climactic volume, high volume demand coming in off the lows, as long as that's not happening, we know we're bearish. So we have a direction there. Second thing is we look for signs of weakness into up moves. So we drew a fib here and had this area. We also have this resistance, which could be a fake break or just a test of that, or a larger retracement and all that stuff. The fib was a little unclear to draw here, so I left it out. This maybe from here or from here, which would point to this area for a fib zone. But it actually set up at the first possible area I would consider. I mean, simply a fib retracement is a decent sized move. It's not tiny. It's the last obvious swing going into today. So a regular old fib retracement during a downtrend is an area to consider the entry. Again, since it's kind of low, really the 5-minute had to be very clean. I said at the beginning, it goes a long way how the 5-minute behaves. It was a little sloppy. It had some higher prices on low volume. Things were not so clean. I wouldn't have taken it. Maybe look for this level. But since it was pretty textbook picture perfect with the high volume off the high prices into the fib area, and then the no demand test on the 14 EMA, and the way it also confirmed making, this is the confirmation of the entry here is the no demand and breaking the low of the no demand. I was a little late because I was looking at other charts and it felt quick, but I got in around there. So that's the entry as you break here. So it's a really simple, clean pattern. It's exactly what I would have drawn in. If we were back here and I said I'm looking for this trade, I would have drew up here, down, test, right, and come to, it's all there. And the high volume, the low volume test. But that's the entry there. So it was good enough to say, okay, this is very high probability. Lots of selling, very little buying. that's pretty much it. Cool. Yeah, not too complicated. You get your background, your direction, you mark your levels, you look for the proper stuff. Now, if there's confusing things on the chart, it may not be a clean situation, but there's a lot of simple guidelines. So either it's there or it's not there. There's not much gray area. Anyone trading my method should have seen that setup. Pretty straightforward. You see the euro dollar similar, but never really set up until here, and this came in as potentially strength. So it just didn't coincide. 5 minute, not so great. This was good though. But you notice the volume actually decreased in the upper area. This one, the increases are here, the highest points. That stuff matters. Whatever looks better is going to tend to play out better. So what else today? You got the crappy euro dollar short, 6.8. What is that, B minus, C plus? Pound, and try to hold on. AU, I'm looking for a long off a dip. It's bullish, but it's really too high. I wouldn't want to chase it. This is just pound selling off everywhere, pound yen, pound anything. Entries came and went, nothing to do. AJ stuck in the middle of the range. Sell high, buy low, wait for something. Wake up, it's flatline. EJ seeing a little more strength, so I wouldn't pick this for the short. If things turn bullish, this might be my first choice. May or may not be for a while. That's it. I guess I'll call it a day then. So another good one. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Nice and easy. That's the best. Show up, there's a trade, it's all good. All right, guys, see you tomorrow. That? Any update on the thing? What thing? Oh, Dean, okay, we'll talk. Okay. All right, see you.